The Galactic Defense Academy had all the charm of a government office building designed by committee. Sterile, imposing, and somehow managing to make the vastness of space feel cramped and bureaucratic. Samantha Brooks adjusted her instructor uniform for the third time and wondered, not for the first time, how she'd gone from training Earth's finest to babysitting alien cadets who thought push-ups were some kind of religious ceremony. "Instructor Brooks," announced Academy Coordinator Vextal with the kind of professional courtesy that suggested he was reading from a script. "We are pleased to welcome you as our new primitive species consultant for physical preparedness protocols." Sam looked around the pristine training facility, noting the complete absence of anything resembling actual training equipment. Where are the weights? The obstacle courses? The combat mats? Combat mats? Coordinator Vextal's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, apparently processing a concept that didn't translate well. "Instructor Brooks, I believe there may be some confusion about your role here. You have been hired to teach ceremonial movement patterns and ritual strengthening displays." "I'm sorry, what?" "Your species' primitive training methods," explained academic specialist Dexnara, consulting her notes with scholarly enthusiasm. "Our research indicates that humans engage in elaborate ritualistic movements designed to demonstrate tribal hierarchy and spiritual preparedness." Sam stared at them. "You mean exercise? If that is what you call your ceremonial combat dances?" "Yes." The first class was a masterpiece of cross-cultural miscommunication. 23 alien cadets from 12 different species stood at attention, while Sam tried to explain the concept of warming up to beings who had apparently never heard of cardiovascular preparation. "Right," Sam began with the patient tone she'd developed for explaining obvious concepts to new recruits. "We're going to start with some basic calisthenics. Jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, standard stuff." Cadet Nexivore, a tall crystalline being whose species communicated through harmonic resonance, made a sound like wind chimes having an argument. "Instructor Brooks, are these the sacred movement patterns that prepare the warrior's spirit for battle transcendence?" "They're jumping jacks, Nexivore. They get your heart rate up." "Ah," Cadet Nexivore replied with obvious reverence. "The ritual acceleration of life essence through rhythmic kinetic meditation." Sam was beginning to understand why the Academy had classified her as a consultant rather than an actual instructor. These aliens had somehow interpreted basic military fitness as some kind of mystical warrior philosophy. "Okay, everyone, let's start simple. Jumping jacks. Like this." Sam demonstrated the movement with the casual efficiency of someone who'd done approximately 10 million jumping jacks over the course of her military career. The alien cadets watched with the kind of intense focus usually reserved for religious ceremonies or really complicated tax forms. Several took notes. One appeared to be praying. "Remarkable," whispered academic specialist Dexnara to her recording device. "The human demonstrates the opening movement of physical transcendence with casual mastery. Note the perfect synchronization of limb extension with gravitational resistance patterns." General Korthvex chose this moment to make his entrance, which was exactly the kind of dramatic power play that made Sam miss the straightforward hostility of drill sergeants. The general was a Zelkarian, standing 7 feet tall with the kind of natural armor plating that suggested his species had evolved specifically for intimidation and formal complaints about military funding. "So," General Korthvex announced with the kind of voice that made lower-ranking officers check their paperwork twice, "this is the primitive human who thinks she can teach our cadets about warfare." Sam looked up from demonstrating proper push-up form to a cadet whose species apparently had 6 arms and was using all of them incorrectly. "General, I'm just teaching basic fitness, nothing fancy." "Basic fitness," the general repeated with the tone of someone tasting something unpleasant. "Yes, I've read the reports. Ritualistic movement patterns and ceremonial strength displays. How charmingly primitive. Sir, with respect, physical conditioning is fundamental to military preparedness. It doesn't matter what species you are. If you can't move efficiently and maintain endurance under stress, you're not going to be effective in combat situations." General Korthvex's laugh sounded like armor plating being scraped with a fork. "Combat situations? You think your little dance routines prepare beings for actual warfare? How delightfully naive." The training facility went quiet. Even the cadets who'd been struggling with the concept of proper squat form stopped what they were doing to watch what was clearly about to become either a valuable learning experience or a career-ending disaster. "I'm sorry, General," Sam said, with the kind of calm that drill instructors used when someone had just made a very poor life choice. "But did you just suggest that physical fitness isn't relevant to combat effectiveness? I'm suggesting that your species' primitive understanding of warfare is quaint. Perhaps you'd like to demonstrate these fundamental techniques against someone who actually understands military doctrine?" Sam considered this offer with the expression of someone who'd just been challenged to explain basic mathematics to a toddler. "Are you asking me to spar with you, General? I'm offering you the opportunity to prove that human training methods have any practical application beyond tribal ritual." The alien cadets were now gathered in a circle around the impromptu demonstration area, apparently under the impression that they were about to witness some kind of formal ceremonial combat. Several had started taking more detailed notes. Academic specialist Dexnara was practically vibrating with scholarly excitement. "Right," Sam said, removing her instructor jacket and stretching her shoulders with the casual preparation of someone who'd done this before. "Let's keep this simple. Basic hand-to-hand, no weapons, standard sparring rules." "Standard sparring rules?" General Korthvex inquired with obvious amusement. "Try not to permanently damage your opponent. Stop when someone yields, and remember that this is supposed to be educational. What happened next would be analyzed by xenomilitary theorists for decades and give physics professors across the galaxy stress-related molting disorders." Sam approached the general with the kind of relaxed confidence that came from 20 years of teaching people how to efficiently apply force to solve problems. General Korthvex, whose species had dominated galactic military doctrine for 3 centuries through superior technology and tactical doctrine, attempted to demonstrate advanced combat techniques that relied on his natural armor and superior reach. Sam responded by treating him like a particularly stubborn piece of training equipment. The general's first attack was a textbook example of Zelkarian combat form, a coordinated strike designed to overwhelm opponents through superior force and battlefield positioning. Sam sidestepped it with the casual efficiency of someone avoiding a puddle, used his momentum against him, and introduced him to the fundamentals of leverage and applied physics. General Korthvex hit the training facility floor with the kind of impact that suggested his understanding of human capabilities might need some aggressive revision. What followed was less a demonstration of advanced military doctrine, and more a practical lesson in why humans had survived long enough to reach the stars. The decisive moment came when Sam applied what she mentally categorized as basic grappling technique number 4, and General Korthvex's head detached from his shoulders with a sound like expensive machinery experiencing rapid disassembly. The silence that followed was broken only by academic specialist Dexnara's excited whisper. "Remarkable. The human has achieved ritual victory through ceremonial dismemberment." Sam looked down at General Korthvex's head, which was apparently still conscious and looking appropriately embarrassed about the situation. "Oh, right. Zelkarians do that. Sorry, General. I forgot about the detachment thing." She picked up the head with the casual efficiency of someone handling training equipment and set it carefully on a nearby bench. "You okay? That's supposed to be painless for your species, right?" Yes," General Korthvex replied from his temporary position as mobile furniture. "Zelkarian physiology allows for temporary cranial separation during extreme combat situations." "Cool. Good design. Feature." Sam turned to address the assembled alien cadets, who were staring at her with expressions that suggested their understanding of ceremonial movement patterns was undergoing rapid and unwelcome revision. "Right, where were we? Who's next for the demonstration?" The footage of Sam's demonstration hit the galactic academic network like a scholarly meteor, creating waves of confusion that rippled through 17 different universities before anyone figured out whether this belonged in the Department of Impossible Things or the Institute for Really Bad Ideas. "Emergency publication," announced Dr. Vexkala of the Centaurian Institute for Xenomilitary Studies during an all-hands meeting that had been called after her research assistant discovered their understanding of human warfare was approximately as accurate as their understanding of dark matter. "I need peer review on human combat pedagogy," Educational methodology or weapons training disguised as physical fitness? The paper's abstract had achieved something previously thought impossible, making tenure-track professors across the galaxy question their fundamental assumptions about the nature of education, warfare, and the alarming possibility that the two might be the same thing. According to our analysis, Dr. Vexkala continued, projecting footage of Sam's casual dismantling of General Korthvex frame by frame, the human demonstrates advanced combat techniques through what appears to be instructional methodology. Note the pedagogical approach to force application and the educational context for biomechanical advantage exploitation. Professor Tex Nara of the Galactic Defense Theory Consortium was frantically cross-referencing Sam's movements with their database of known combat techniques. The human's actions don't match any recognized military doctrine. She's not fighting according to established principles of warfare. Because she's teaching, realized academic specialist Dex Nara, with the kind of insight that usually preceded either breakthrough discoveries or complete mental breakdowns. She's not demonstrating combat techniques. She's providing practical instruction in applied physics, biomechanics, and conflict resolution. The implications hit the academic community like a carefully aimed textbook to the face. Universities across the galaxy began emergency reviews of their human instructor programs, apparently concerned that their fitness consultants might actually be unconsciously revolutionizing military doctrine through what they'd assumed were harmless exercise classes. Meanwhile, the Galactic Defense Force was experiencing its own version of academic crisis. Military analyst Nexivorth was reviewing footage of human training sessions, with the growing horror of someone discovering that their understanding of educational methodology was catastrophically incomplete. "Sir," he reported to Defense Coordinator Yextal with the careful tone of someone delivering news that might require significant restructuring of reality. "We've been monitoring human instructional activities across 43 military academies. What we initially classified as ceremonial fitness rituals appear to be something else." Something else? Combat training. Advanced combat training. Disguised as physical education. Defense Coordinator Yextal reviewed the reports with the expression of someone whose worldview was experiencing rapid decompression. "Are you telling me that humans have been teaching our military cadets actual warfare techniques while we thought they were providing cultural enrichment programs?" "Yes, sir. And it's worse than that." "How could it possibly be worse?" Military analyst Nexivorth pulled up comparative performance data that painted a picture of unconscious military revolution on a galactic scale. Cadets who have participated in human fitness programs are outperforming their peers by factors of 3 to 12 in all combat assessments. Reaction time, tactical thinking, physical capability, unit cohesion, every metric shows dramatic improvement. And we attributed this to improved morale through recreational activities. The silence that followed was broken by Defense Coordinator Yextal, making the kind of sound that suggested his species had evolved specific vocalizations for expressing military horror. "How many human instructors are currently employed by galactic military institutions?" 237 across 17 star systems, sir. "And they're all teaching what they call basic physical education. What we're now realizing might be the most effective military training methodology in galactic history." The revelation triggered emergency sessions across multiple civilizations as the scope of human educational activities became clear. The Altarian Defense Council called an immediate review of their exchange program, after discovering that their elite units were now performing at levels that violated several established theories about biological limitations. "The human instructor claims she's teaching team-building exercises," reported Training Coordinator Zexavala to the emergency session, her voice carrying the hollow tone of someone whose professional competence had just been personally insulted by reality. But analysis of these exercises reveals advanced small unit tactics, coordinated movement patterns, and what can only be described as psychological conditioning for high-stress combat situations. And our cadets' response? They believe they're participating in recreational fitness activities. They report high satisfaction with the program and request additional sessions. The economic implications were staggering. Military contractors across the galaxy were facing obsolescence as human-trained units outperformed technology-enhanced forces, using what appeared to be superior technique and unit cohesion, rather than advanced equipment. We've spent centuries developing sophisticated weapons systems and tactical enhancement technology, reported defense industry analyst Kexamura to the Emergency Trade Council session. The humans are achieving superior results with jumping jacks and group exercises. That's impossible. That's what we thought. Then we reviewed the performance data. The data painted a picture that made military procurement officers reach for strong beverages and stress medication. Human-trained units were completing objectives faster, with fewer casualties, and with higher mission success rates than forces equipped with the most advanced technology available. The humans aren't just teaching physical fitness, analysis coordinator Texville realized with growing horror. They're teaching systems thinking, adaptive problem-solving, and collaborative decision-making through what they call sports and group activities. Sports? Competitive physical activities designed to develop strategic thinking and team coordination while maintaining physical conditioning. The realization that humans had been accidentally revolutionizing galactic military doctrine through what they considered basic recreational activities triggered panic across multiple governments. Emergency legislation was proposed, training programs were suspended, and several civilizations filed formal requests for clarification about human educational objectives. Back at the Galactic Defense Academy, Sam was reviewing her class schedule with the confusion of someone whose job description seemed to be evolving faster than she could understand it. "Instructor Brooks," announced Coordinator Vextal with the kind of nervous energy that suggested significant administrative changes were incoming. "I've received word from Academy Command regarding your demonstration with General Korthvex. Is the General okay? I know the head thing looks dramatic, but Zelkarians bounce back pretty quickly." General Korthvex has made a full recovery and has requested additional instruction in what he terms human tactical methodology. However, that's not why I'm here. Sam looked up from her lesson plans, which currently included basic calisthenics, elementary team-building exercises, and what she optimistically called Introduction to Not Getting Your Butt Kicked 101. "Academy Command has reviewed the footage of your instructional session," Coordinator Vextal continued with the careful tone of someone delivering news that might have galactic implications, "and has decided to promote you to Director of Aggressive Education." Director of what now? Aggressive Education. It's a new position, created specifically for you. Apparently, your teaching methods have been classified as revolutionary instructional techniques with significant tactical applications. Sam stared at him. "I was teaching jumping jacks." "Yes. And according to our analysts, those jumping jacks constitute advanced warrior conditioning protocols that have increased cadet combat effectiveness by an average of 347%. The promotion came with a corner office, a staff of 12 academic researchers, and a budget that suggested the Academy was taking her aggressive education very seriously indeed. It also came with a classified briefing that made Sam question whether she'd accidentally started something significantly more complicated than a fitness program. "The situation is this," explained Intelligence Coordinator Nextel during her security briefing. "Human instructors across the galaxy have been unconsciously teaching military techniques disguised as recreational activities. Galactic governments are requesting immediate clarification about human educational objectives." "Our educational objectives? Whether you're deliberately training alien military forces or accidentally revolutionizing galactic warfare through what you consider normal physical education." Sam considered this while reviewing reports that suggested her colleagues had been transforming military academies across 17 star systems through what they'd assumed were basic health and wellness programs. "So," she said finally, "what you're telling me is that we've accidentally been teaching the galaxy how to fight better, while we thought we were just helping people get in shape." "That appears to be the situation, yes. And now everyone's panicking because they realize that gym class is actually military training." A somewhat simplified but essentially accurate assessment. Sam looked at the reports detailing the galaxy-wide impact of human fitness instruction, and made the kind of sound that suggested her understanding of her job was undergoing aggressive revision. "Well," she said finally, "I guess that explains why my performance reviews keep mentioning exceeded expectations in unexpected areas." The emergency session of the Galactic Defense Council had been called to address what military historians would later refer to as the human education crisis. But what Sam privately thought of as people getting way too excited about basic fitness routines. She sat in the observer's gallery watching 47 different civilizations try to process the fact that their military academies had been revolutionized by beings they'd hired to teach what they'd assumed were harmless recreational activities. Exhibit A, announced Defense Analysis Coordinator Vextal, projecting footage of the Academy's recent graduation exercises. Standard combat assessment for final-year cadets. Please observe Cadet Nexivor's performance. The footage showed Sam's favorite student, the crystalline being who'd initially thought jumping jacks were religious ceremonies, moving through a complex tactical scenario with the kind of fluid efficiency that made experienced military officers reach for stress medication. What should have been a challenging final exam looked more like a recreational activity for someone who'd learned proper form. Cadet Nexivore completed the assessment in 43 minutes. Coordinator Vextal continued with the hollow tone of someone whose understanding of military standards was undergoing aggressive revision. The previous record was 2 hours and 17 minutes. And the human instructor's explanation for this improvement? Asked Admiral Korthvex, whose head was now permanently reattached, and who had become Sam's most enthusiastic supporter since learning that getting casually dismantled was apparently an educational experience. Instructor Brooks attributed the performance enhancement to proper conditioning and good teamwork habits. Coordinator Vextal replied, consulting his notes with visible confusion. She also mentioned that Cadet Nexivore had been doing really good work on his core strength. The phrase core strength triggered immediate consultations among species whose understanding of human terminology had become a matter of galactic security. Military contractors were quietly having nervous breakdowns as traditional enhancement technologies were outperformed by what humans called basic fitness. The economic implications are staggering, reported Trade Representative Zex Mora to the emergency session. Human-trained units are achieving mission objectives using minimal equipment, while technology-enhanced forces require significant resource investment for comparable results. Are you saying that human exercise is more effective than our advanced military technology? I'm saying that human-trained cadets are outperforming units equipped with millions of credits worth of enhancement technology while using what appears to be superior technique and unit cohesion. The revelation was causing panic across the military-industrial complex as defense contractors realized that their sophisticated weapon systems were being rendered obsolete by what humans considered basic physical education. Several major corporations had requested emergency meetings to discuss the strategic implications of beings who could achieve superior military results through teamwork and proper form. Meanwhile, alien governments were facing a different crisis. Every species wanted human instructors, but nobody was quite sure what they might accidentally teach. The Centaurian Defense Ministry had submitted a formal request for 12 human fitness consultants, while simultaneously mobilizing their entire fleet to defend against what they termed the human-trained threat. We need human instructors, explained Defense Minister Yexkala during the emergency session, because our military effectiveness is declining relative to human-trained forces. However, we also need to prepare defenses against human-trained forces, because we don't understand the full scope of their capabilities. So you want to hire humans to train your forces to fight against forces trained by humans? The logic is internally consistent, Defense Minister Yexkala replied with the tone of someone whose strategic planning had become significantly more complicated than expected. This was happening across 17 star systems as civilizations attempted to solve the human instructor paradox through increasingly elaborate military and diplomatic solutions. Several species had begun secret negotiations to secure exclusive access to human training methods, while simultaneously developing contingency plans for conflicts with human-trained opponents. Back at the Academy, Sam was experiencing the surreal situation of being simultaneously the most sought-after instructor in galactic history and the subject of multiple security investigations. Her daily schedule now included teaching what she called basic fitness to increasingly elite alien military units, while being observed by xenomilitary theorists who analyzed her every movement for hidden tactical significance. Instructor Brooks, announced Cadet Nexivore after completing what Sam considered a routine exercise session. I must express gratitude for the warrior transformation you have provided through your sacred conditioning protocols. They're push-ups, Nexvor, and you've been doing great work on your form. Yes, the form, Cadet Nexvor agreed with obvious reverence. The precise biomechanical alignment that channels kinetic energy into tactical advantage. Truly, your species' mastery of combat applications through physical discipline is remarkable. Sam looked around at her class of 23 alien cadets, all of whom were treating her casual encouragement about proper exercise technique as profound military wisdom. You know I'm just trying to help you guys stay healthy, right? Of course, instructor, agreed Cadet Tex Mora, whose species had originally signed up for what they thought were cultural enrichment activities. The holistic warrior conditioning that encompasses physical, mental, and tactical preparedness through integrated training methodologies. Okay, sure, let's go with that. The cultural misunderstanding reached new heights when academic specialist Dexnara published her landmark paper, Predator Bonding and Weapons Development, the Human Instructor's Maternal Conditioning of Future Combat Units. The paper analyzed Sam's teaching style and concluded that her caring attitude toward her students was actually an advanced form of psychological conditioning designed to create emotionally bonded combat units. Note the instructor's consistent use of positive reinforcement and protective concern, academic specialist Dexnara explained during her presentation to the Xenopsychology Institute. The human demonstrates classic predator pack bonding behavior, creating psychological attachment with combat units to enhance tactical coordination and unit loyalty. Are you suggesting that the human's kindness is actually a military strategy? I'm suggesting that human kindness may be the most sophisticated psychological warfare technique we've ever encountered. The paper triggered immediate military analysis across multiple civilizations as defense strategists attempted to understand the tactical implications of humans who formed emotional attachments to their students. The conclusion that Sam's motherly concern was actually predator bonding with future weapons sent panic through command structures that had never considered the possibility that caring about people might be a form of military advantage. The human instructor demonstrates genuine concern for cadet welfare, reported military psychologist Vex Nala to the defense strategy meeting. She provides individualized attention, celebrates personal achievement, and shows protective instincts toward her students. And this creates what kind of tactical advantage? Absolute unit loyalty, enhanced performance motivation, and psychological resilience that dramatically exceeds normal parameters. The realization that human emotional intelligence was actually a form of military technology triggered the largest defense mobilization in galactic history. Multiple species began preparing for conflicts with human-trained forces while simultaneously trying to hire human instructors to train their own forces to fight human-trained opponents. The situation reached critical mass when the Altarian Defense Force declared a state of emergency after their human-trained units scored a perfect victory in war games against their technology-enhanced elite forces. The human-trained cadets had achieved total tactical superiority using what their instructor called good communication and teamwork. They moved like a single organism, reported exercise observer Nexaval with the tone of someone whose understanding of military capability had been personally insulted by reality. Perfect coordination, adaptive tactics, and unit cohesion that exceeded our theoretical maximums. And their equipment? Standard issue gear. No enhancements, no advanced technology. Just superior technique and what they called playing well together. Emergency protocols were activated across the galaxy as governments realized that human-trained alien forces might represent an existential threat to current military doctrine. Defense strategies that had worked for centuries were being rendered obsolete by aliens who'd learned to exercise properly and work as a team. Sam discovered the full scope of the crisis when she arrived at her office to find classified security briefings explaining that her cadets had been officially designated as weapons of mass instruction. According to the documents, her students were now considered potential threats to galactic stability due to their impossible combat capabilities achieved through human pedagogical methods. So, let me get this straight, Sam said to Intelligence Coordinator Nextal during her security briefing. My students are now classified as weapons because they've learned to do push-ups correctly and work together effectively? That's a simplified but essentially accurate assessment of the situation. And multiple civilizations are mobilizing their fleets, Because they're afraid of cadets who've learned proper stretching techniques? The concern is that your stretching techniques appear to be advanced combat conditioning disguised as wellness activities. Sam stared at the classified reports detailing the galaxy-wide military response to her physical education program. You people realize I was just trying to help them avoid pulled muscles, right? The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been convened to address what historians would later call the Great Fitness Misunderstanding, but what Sam thought of as the day an entire galaxy discovered that gym class is actually useful. She sat before representatives of 47 civilizations, all of whom were trying to process the revelation that their military crisis had been caused by basic physical education. Miss Brooks, began Council Director Zextal with the careful tone of someone whose entire understanding of human education was undergoing aggressive revision. We need to understand the true nature of your instructional methods. Are human training techniques actually advanced military doctrine disguised as recreational activities? Sam looked around the assembly chamber, noting the increased security, the nervous energy radiating from beings who discovered their fitness instructors were accidentally revolutionizing warfare, and the way everyone kept taking notes on her casual stretching. No, she said simply. We're exactly what we said we were. I teach physical education with basic leadership development. It's standard curriculum. But the combat effectiveness improvements are what happens when people get in shape and learn to work together, Sam interrupted with the patient tone she used for explaining obvious concepts. Physical fitness plus teamwork equals better performance. It's not rocket science. Academic specialist Dex Nara leaned forward with scholarly intensity. Are you saying that human military superiority comes from exercise and cooperation? I'm saying human military effectiveness comes from understanding that your body is a tool, your team is your strength, and most problems can be solved if you're fit enough to keep trying and smart enough to work together. The silence that followed was broken by Admiral Korthvex's thoughtful observation. So when humans engage in warfare, they're essentially problem-solving with enhanced physical capabilities and coordinated teamwork? Pretty much. We call it applied creativity with fitness requirements. Dr. Vex Kayla of the Xenomilitary Institute was frantically taking notes. And this applied creativity is just figuring out how to accomplish objectives using available resources while keeping everyone alive and working together effectively, Sam finished. It's not mystical. We teach kids this stuff in elementary school. The revelation hit the chamber like a diplomatic meteorite. Several species began rapid consultations with their education ministries, apparently realizing that human childhood development programs might actually be comprehensive leadership and tactical training. You teach combat methodology to children? Council Director Zextal asked with growing horror. We teach children how to be healthy, work as a team, solve problems creatively, and not give up when things get difficult, Sam corrected. If that creates better soldiers, it also creates better engineers, doctors, teachers, and citizens. The economic implications were staggering. Military Enhancement Consortium. Representative Yex Mora pulled up holographic displays showing the obsolescence of traditional military technology. According to these reports, human-trained forces achieve superior results through technique and coordination rather than technological advancement. Technology is great, Sam agreed cheerfully, but it doesn't replace good fundamentals. Proper form, situational awareness, team communication, and physical conditioning will beat fancy gadgets most of the time. And these fundamentals are taught through jumping jacks, push-ups, team sports, and group problem-solving exercises, plus a lot of encouragement and constructive feedback. The phrase, constructive feedback, triggered immediate consultations among species whose military doctrine had never considered the tactical advantages of positive reinforcement and personal growth encouragement. The solution, when it came, was elegantly simple and terrifyingly practical. Humans would become the galaxy's official educational consultants, responsible for teaching proper physical fitness and collaborative problem-solving to anyone who wanted to learn. The position is Director of Applied Learning through Vigorous Exercise, announced Coordinator Vextel during Sam's promotion ceremony. You'll be responsible for developing galaxy-wide educational standards that incorporate human methodology. So, basically, I'm in charge of teaching everyone proper PE class? If PE class encompasses physical conditioning, leadership development, team coordination, creative problem solving, and adaptive thinking under pressure, then yes. 6 months later, Sam found herself with the title Galactic Fitness Coordinator, and an office that overlooked what was now officially designated as Human-Style Education Station Prime. Her daily schedule included teaching alien generals that proper squat form was more important than advanced targeting systems, and explaining to defense ministers that unit cohesion came from trust-building exercises, not command hierarchies. The key, Sam explained to a gathering of military leaders from 12 different species, is understanding that fitness isn't just physical. Mental fitness, emotional fitness, team fitness, they all work together. You can't separate physical conditioning from leadership development or individual excellence from group cooperation. And this creates military advantage how? Asked Defense Coordinator Nexavoth, whose species had spent centuries developing sophisticated combat enhancement technology. It doesn't create military advantage, Sam replied with the patient tone she used for explaining fundamental concepts. It creates human beings who are capable, confident, and committed to each other. The military effectiveness is just a side effect of being healthy, competent people who work well together. The revelation that human warfare was essentially comprehensive education with fitness requirements triggered the largest educational reform in galactic history. Species across 17 star systems began implementing mandatory human-style physical education, apparently unaware that they were accidentally militarizing their entire populations through basic health and wellness programs. Miss Brooks, announced Intelligence Coordinator Nextall during her quarterly briefing, our projections indicate that galaxy-wide implementation of human educational methodology will result in a 400% increase in general population fitness, leadership capability, and collaborative problem-solving skills. That sounds like a good thing. It also means that every civilian population will possess what we previously classified as advanced military capabilities. Sam considered this while reviewing requests for human instructors from 43 different educational systems. So what you're telling me is that we're accidentally creating a galaxy full of people who are healthy, confident, and good at working together to solve problems? That appears to be the situation, yes. And this is concerning because we're not sure what a galaxy full of competent, physically fit, collaboratively minded individuals might accomplish. Sam looked at the reports detailing the galaxy-wide impact of human educational methodology and made the kind of sound that suggested her understanding of her job was continuing to evolve in unexpected directions. Well, she said finally, I guess we're about to find out what happens when everyone learns to do jumping jacks correctly and work as a team. The final irony was that the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had discovered the secret to individual excellence, and collective achievement had always been right there in what humans considered basic childhood education. Get some exercise, learn to work together, don't give up when things get difficult, and remember that taking care of each other makes everyone stronger. As Sam reviewed her schedule for the next quarter, which included teaching proper stretching techniques to 3 different species military academies, she reflected that while she'd started out as a simple fitness instructor, she'd apparently become responsible for the accidental evolution of an entire galaxy through the revolutionary concept of comprehensive physical education. Same time next week? Asked her assistant, reviewing appointment requests from educational institutions across 17 star systems. Looks like it, Sam replied, humming contentedly as she planned lessons that would continue reshaping galactic civilization, one proper push-up at a time.